It's Lessons for Life, the ancient secrets of Babylon and Sumeria. Where was Babylon? What was Babylon? And what went on there? We've got Mac with us. Welcome, Mac.
Hi, guys.
Let's get straight into it and hear from this documentary.
Kabbalah is one of the most widely practiced forms of mysticism. Followers believe that decoding its ancient texts will reveal the answers to the greatest mysteries of life. In the 21st century, celebrities including Madonna and Britney Spears have taken up a modern interpretation of the practice. Yet the spread of Kabbalah has sparked controversy. Strict adherents warn that this mystical practice holds hidden perils. Throughout history, followers have coded their writings to protect Kabbalah's secrets.
How many levels of understanding are there? Maybe infinite. So the more you have to decode the past, to decode the text, the more mystical it is, the harder it is to decode.
In Babylon, at the beginning of the 6th century BC, Ezekiel has a vision. As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and fire flashing forth continually. And in the midst of the fire, there was a throne. Sitting on the throne was a figure that looked like a man. Ezekiel believes he has peered into heaven and seen God seated on his throne. They hope that by studying this image, they will one day see God for themselves and become one with the divine spirit. In the 2nd century CE, it is during this time that many turn to mysticism to help them understand God's will. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is one of the men searching for answers.
He fled from the Romans who sought to execute him because of anti-Roman statements he had made.
Bar Yochai hides from the Romans for 13 years. Here, Bar Yochai meditates on God and the universe, using the Torah, or Hebrew scriptures, as his guide.
So Jesus wasn't the only person speaking out against the Romans and ending up getting persecuted, executed for it. This was all happening in Babylon thousands of years ago. Babylon is modern day Iraq. What does the name Babylon mean, Mac? Can you work it out from the etymology? What is Bab in Arabic?
Well, the Bab from the Baha'i, we realize Bab is the gate.
We did learn that from the Baha'is. Bab means gate. Bab Elon is the equivalent of saying Bab Allah, the gate of God. So that's the name. I think it comes from the Akkadian language, which is of course Semitic, just like Arabic. And Babylon, as it was situated in Iraq or Mesopotamia, as it was back then, was outside the Holy Land, and it was kind of seen as kind of like beyond the realm, right? It was the people from outside were in Babylon, and obviously people inside the kingdom of King David were in the Holy Land. But why is there so much mystery surrounding the Babylon? We talk about the Babylonian Talmud and people dabbling in this mysticism and magic and the Kabbalah, or the Kabbalah, as they mentioned it on the video. And Kabbalah, again, a Semitic word with the root of the same meaning as Qabul, meaning to accept. I think even the city in Afghanistan, Kabul, comes from the same word. So this idea of acceptance, rather like the way that Islam means submission, Kabbalah means acceptance, a very sort of similar word. And we love picking up on these similarities. But what made you so curious about Babylon and Sumeria?
Well, myself, because it was to do with Mesopotamia, and I wanted to know the history of, because as you know, Cyrus, it actually touches on Cyrus the Great having to go there and free the Hebrews from Babylon back to the Holy Land.
33X is asking, is Mac from Babylon? Well, you're from next door, right?
Fully Persian. I wouldn't even say Iran, because that's the ideology from 1935.
From the bad people in the 1930s, exactly. Well, it's interesting that you use that terminology and you don't use other terminology. Cyrus, this great Persian, or Iranian, Persian king, he saved the Hebrews when they were being persecuted in Babylon and allowed them to return to their holy land for the second time, I guess. But let's have a look at where they were. So Babylon is the most famous city from ancient Mesopotamia, which is the old name for Iraq, and Mesopotamia meaning the land between the two rivers, whose ruins lie in modern-day Iraq, southwest of Baghdad. The name is thought to derive from Bavi or Bavlim in the Akkadian language. There you go, we got it, Akkadian. So Bav, Bab, the B and the V being sort of interchangeable when you go from Hebrew to Arabic. You'll often find that in the Hebrew writings they talk, for example, about the Ketuvim, meaning the writings, whereas in Arabic it would be Kitab, Kutub, books, writings. So
it's
lots
amazing
of,
that I just remembered Bab means the gate. I love the fact that I learned that from them. So thank you for that.
You learned that on this show from the members of the Baha'i faith that were sharing their religious beliefs with us. And that's another religion that came out of this cradle of civilization, origins in Persia, but their prophet founder spent a lot of time in Iraq as well, or Babylon, in Baghdad, I believe. In fact, their holy pilgrimage is actually to Baghdad whenever it's safe enough for them to do so. And let's have a look at another picture. I think this is the
cylinder.
What's the rock? Can you see that on the screen? Yeah, the Cyrus cylinder is it's not a is it a rock? Is it engraved on the rock? Document issued by Cyrus the Great.
Yeah, so what it is, I think that there's 3 different languages on there. There's Aramaic, there's Semitic as well. And they've written on that cylinder, it talks about how Cyrus, this is in Daniel as well. In Daniel, he talks about how Cyrus the name was given, will come to free the Hebrews from Babylon. Wow. So this is actual proof, documentation, you can say. This is because they didn't have they used to write on cylinders like this. So this is the only cylinder or proof that we have of Cyrus the Great.
Rather similar to Rosetta Stone. Yeah.
I'd also like to mention Cyrus the Great, not only because with Cyrus came the first human right, as well as the human right. He was basically Cyrus the Great was recognized for achieving human rights, politics, military strategy, and also influencing obviously the West and the East civilizations. But ideally, the human right bit is very important, because from that point, this is where we realize like your race doesn't, or your skin color doesn't matter. So this is where the first human right was given, was Cyrus the Great. So I'd just like to point that out as well.
This is the Persian Empire.
Exactly.
What religion was Cyrus the Great practicing then? Was he Zoroastrian?
Yes, I believe so. He was, because the motto of Zoroastrianism is basically there's 3 mottos. It's clean thought, clean speech, and clean action. This is so basing it on that, that's what he did. He was equal, made sure everyone was treated fairly. That's why he's called Cyrus the Great.
And is it true that slavery was outlawed in Persia long before it was even instituted in the West, and then later outlawed.
Exactly. That
How
was when Cyrus the Great.
Persia were light years ahead of the rest of the world, then, weren't they?
In that sense, yeah. I mean, considering if in the Bible he's I think he's considered as a prophet, so therefore
Who? Cyrus the Great. Okay.
Yes, Cyrus.
Even
Now,
though he
in the
practiced
Quran,
a non-biblical religion.
well, the thing is, he followed the enlightenment of Zoroastrianism.
Okay.
You see what I mean? So that's what my belief is. He could have been. It all goes back to Mithra, because Mithra originated from there as well. It was because Mithra was before Zoroaster, if you know that. If you know the history of Mithra, the god. Before Ahura Mazda, there was Mithra.
Wow. Let's have a little look at this. Okay, and
so you remember I told you
about the great king. Yeah. King of Babylon. Yeah. And this is who the Shah still claims that he is. Did he not? Up until 1979, he said, "I am the king of kings."
Exactly, that was his title. So yeah, Reza Shah Pahlavi had the title of King of Kings. But it comes, obviously, it's a tradition that goes back all the way to the Akkadian, or what it says, the king of Media. And that the Median were Iranians or Persians, were they not?
Mm-hmm. I believe so. I think the people of Baluchistan trace their origins back to the ancient kingdom of Media.
Right, okay. So, yeah.
But we are the alternative media. Talking of which, why does Sargon of Akkad, the right winger, I guess you could call him, why does he use the nickname Sargon of Akkad?
That's actually
Are you familiar with that guy? Maybe because these people were philosophers, and he appreciates or considers that civilization was so far ahead.
Akkadian was the original thing, and then that Sumerian. Sumer comes from Sumerian. So the king of Sumer is the king of Sumeria. You see what I'm saying?
We'll talk about Sumeria in a moment, and we've got Baal-zebub. This is going a bit further down the line. Is this one of the gods that they worshipped in there? I mean, it's obviously an equivalent of Satan. Yes,
it is. It's basically the story about I've heard, which I don't know, I could be wrong. Baal was initially Nimrod, and the whore of Babylon was obviously Madonna. You know the Ishtar I was mentioning?
Yeah. Should we go to that?
Well, before we go to that, I just want to point out that when she did get pregnant, and she said that's when she named Nimrod Baal-zebub. So when Nimrod passes away, that's where the name comes from. Does that make sense?
I've got a great book in front of me by a renowned author who is explaining some of these ancient mysteries, and he mentions Gilgamesh, and the Gilgamesh story sounding very familiar to the biblical story. There's a flood, everything gets wiped out. Gilgamesh built an ark to save the animals, and his family sent out the birds to see if the flood was receding. This is prior to the Bible. Surely there's been some plagiarism going on here, no?
There's something that arises my suspicion on this, because what you just said to me was you've mentioned the story. History, we said, repeats itself, right?
Yes.
So what I've noticed is, you're right. Now we got to understand, Nimrod was he was the son of Cush, and Cush was the grandson of Ham, and Ham was the great grandson of Noah.
Okay. And Ham went to Africa, presumably, because we talk about Hamitic languages coming from Africa.
Right.
And
Exactly.
they said that Ham was cursed, and that's why black people are black. We don't believe in that. This is what some people interpret
this is what
the Bible as.
This is what Andre McIntyre was mentioning about. So yeah, Ham, they were cursed, as you say, and I think that's where. Yeah.
Shout out to Liam, who's really enjoying the chat tonight. Thank you, Liam. Wonderful. Great to have you with us. So look, you could take this two ways. The fact that there's a story very similar to the Bible prior to the Bible could make us dismiss the Bible and say, oh, look, the Bible is plagiarized, it's made up. See, it's not from God, it's been copied. And a lot of people say that about the mythical stories in Europe of a God-man born of a virgin. They say, look, it's just another myth. Or is it that there is truth in all of these? History repeats itself. And for example, the story of the flood is common to all cultures because there was a worldwide flood. Every ancient culture that we know of has some kind of a flood story. And it says here that the ancient Indian Noah was called Manu. And similar accounts using different names can be found in Babylon, where Noah is Atrahasis, I don't know if you know him, and in Chaldea, Egypt, Assyria, Greece, Arcadia, Rome, Scandinavia, Germany, the list goes on. So all these civilizations had some kind of flood story with some kind of Noah character who saves the day.
That's what I'm trying to explain. Because if you look at Wikipedia, I think it was mentioning that Nimrod is the son of Cush, and Cush is the grandson of Ham, and again the great grandson of Noah. So ideally, that the story of Noah would be told in different. Now, also you got to remember, this is the state where Babylon tried to make a tower, and God sent down an angel and made them they were speaking the same language, and then he came down and he changed everyone's language. You remember?
So this is where we get the term babbling, as in making no sense whatsoever. And the Tower of Babel was, of course, in Babylon, and this is where we get all these different languages from. Apparently, is it literally true, or is it truer than that? But it is interesting that we refer to languages as, for example, Hamitic. We take these biblical terms to refer to languages, and Semitic languages being from Shem. Would that be Semitic?
It sounds
the
like
languages.
Shem. Isn't that one of the Noah's son, Shem?
I believe, yeah. And someone else told me that the Middle East comes from Shem, comes from semi, as in in the middle, in between. But we'd have to double check that one.
Yeah, but you can say that about the Median Empire. It was in the middle as well.
We all remember the maths lessons of the mode, the median, and the other one, the mean, the mode, median. So Media was in the middle of Persia, was it? Somewhere on the level.
I think it was after Elam, because there was the Elamites.
Elam. Yeah, and
you know about
the Mediterranean, obviously middle, ter, earth, the Middle Earth. That's the Middle Earth. That's the ocean. Why was there an area in Persia called Elam? I thought Elam was what the Tamil Sri Lankans referred to their part of Sri Lanka as. That's a bit of a strange coincidence.
Yeah, I don't know how from I think Elam was before the Medians. Oh no, Medians were before Elam. Sorry, Elamites.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so I didn't actually research on that. I should have known to. But going back to Baal, I've got here. It says it's derived. It's from the Greek Baal, which appears in the New Testament.
Okay.
And it's basically so the name Baal comes from the New Testament as well.
So the name Baal was in the New Testament. Shocking. Here's
Madonna,
Semiramis. Is this the similar? This is the Madonna
aka
figure that you were
Ishtar.
talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Aka Ishtar,
Wife of
also known-
Onus and Ninus.
Yeah.
Succeeded in the latter to the throne of Assyria, and Assyria is kind of like Greater Syria, and there are still people around who consider themselves Assyrian in that region, and they're not Arabs. They have a different language. They would speak Aramaic, but they are still Semitic people, and this is why I think the Arabic language, if you look how it spread, and people debate who is an Arab, who's not an Arab, whether you're an Arab linguistically or racially, I think the language probably spread because if you understand Aramaic, maybe it's easier to understand Arabic or switch to Arabic. I mean, why did Arabic go on, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Semitic language, they say Ruhul Quds, which is the same as Arabic. They say Shalom, we say Salam, Shalom Alaikum.
But Persian, of course, is not a Semitic language. It's an Indo-European language. And I'm curious as to why, if you look at North Africa, all the way from Egypt through Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, into Morocco, they now speak versions of Arabic. It might not sound exactly like the Fusha that you hear in the Gulf and elsewhere, but they do speak Arabic. Why did the Arabic language spread through Palestine, Jordan, Iraq, Lebanon, places that would have spoken Phoenician and Aramaic, and even the Greek language was alive in those regions? Why did Arabic spread there and boom, it stopped dead in its tracks when it got as far as Persia, whereas it spread all the way across Africa? Why would that be?
Up to Alexander the Great, when he took down the Persian Empire, I mean, you're talking about the Umayyad, the Caliphate of the Umayyads that spread throughout that region. Now, they did change everything, and even the Ottoman Empire, they continued the religions. So Arabic speaking was essential in terms of reading the Quran. So I guess it was due to the Umayyad Caliphate that spread it.
Possibly. I mean, well, the Ottoman Empire were Turkish somehow, yet they still controlled the Arab world. And it was suspicious how the control of the Arab world fell out of the Arab hands, almost as if the Ottoman Empire was an imposter empire. But I'll let you make your mind up about that. Ishtar, the Sumerian Nanna, which is where we get the celebration of Easter, right? And this goddess of female fertility, estrogen being the female hormone. And it's no coincidence that we have Easter eggs and all the rest of it, and the Easter bunny around Easter time, which occurs in the early spring. I mean, what have Easter eggs or any of that lot got to do with Jesus and the miracle of his resurrection? I don't think anyone can explain that, can they?
It's a pagan ritual that's continued till now, isn't it?
It's a pagan ritual that has continued till now.
But even with Christmas, they say that it was Egyptian. Well, they used to have
it's not even Christmas.
Yeah,
Astarte. Wow.
Yeah. So now Ishtar, going back to Ishtar, the story is she's known as Ishtar, but also Ishtar egg, as you can see.
Yeah, egg and bunny. We're still fertility symbols. Did you actually think eggs and bunnies had anything to do with the resurrection? Well, the best excuse I ever found that someone come up with was that the rock that was in front of Jesus's tomb was shaped like an egg, and that's why we have eggs for Easter. Surely not.
No, it's fertility eggs to do with Ishtar. So that's
what has a Christmas tree got to do with Christmas?
Remember,
we can take phone calls if anyone wants to get involved, by the way. 07491 751 203. If you want to give me a ring, we'll put you on air. Sorry, Mac, you were going to say.
Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
That's all right, brother. We've got as far as Sumer, which is before Babylon, but in the same region, right?
Yeah, Sumer is a bit more difficult because it's I think the Phoenician times, but the 7 tablets of creation explains a bit more about Enki and Enlil, and that's before Babylon. Which again, it goes into the Anunnakis as well. So, but Billy Carson explains it properly. I mean, I can't remember everything exactly right now, but I think he would be good in terms of explaining the tablets of the 7 creations of Enuma Elish. He would explain it really well and explain well, obviously
We'll get him on the show.
I hope so.
Another word we're coming up with here. Yeah, go on. What's another language?
At the Akkadian times, there was something called the Amharic.
Yeah. Hey, Mac, we've got a text. We've got a texter. I've never taken text on the show. What's bunnies got to do with it? That's the question. What is the significance?
Because
caller, you can or texter, you can give us a call if you want, and we'll talk about it. But we can try to answer your question. What do bunnies have to do with Easter and fertility, other than the expression "go at it like a rabbit"?
Bunny, exactly. Bunnies are good at reproducing, and that's why they're used.
They multiply like rabbits.
Exactly. So that's why they would try and say, look, we want to be as fertile as a rabbit. Remember, in those days, they used to worship fertility gods.
Yeah. Some people still do. I mean, why do you think they create these massive plinths and tall statues? Make it up for something. The name Chaldea. So Chaldea is another region in Babylon or modern day Iraq. You still get Chaldean Christians today who would be of a Assyrian background. The famous one that springs to mind would be Tariq Aziz, second in command of Iraq. He would be a Chaldean Christian. And Chaldea is an ancient region of Iraq, saying in the Hebrew Bible it appears as Kasdim. I mean, that sounds quite Iranian. Kasdim appeared in the Bible, Genesis. The name Kased, the singular form of Kasdim, meaning Chaldeans, and the name is a portion of the Catholic Church. Yeah, they would be Catholic.
I don't know that.
Those Iraqi Christians. And our friend, the texter, is saying, "Oh yes, how silly of me." You're not silly, anonymous texter.
No questions are silly.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a silly question. That's for sure. We learned that in school. I am fascinated to know why Sumeria and Babylon, till this day, as our friend Deontay Wilder said, are so associated with magic, mysticism. It's like everyone's eager to get their hands on them. The region's been invaded so many times. Why is this Middle Earth? Is it so desirable for the invaders?
There's another show that I've watched where it shows the Tigris, Euphrates, the Gihon, the Pison rivers, and it shows that it seems that biblically they've been from that region, like civilization or the cradle of civilization seems to be from that region. The
cradle of civilization, yeah.
So yeah, that's what it is. But I just wanted to point out that obviously in Babylon we had Nimrod, who was now in the Quran. Just to tell you, it says there's 2 good kings and 2 bad kings, naming the 2 good kings, one being Solomon and the other one Zulqarnain. Now,
good king Wenceslas. Vulcanane is the one of two horns or two ages. It can mean two ages, and apparently Qarn, when it's used in the Quran, is more often referring to two ages rather than horns.
Yeah. So
But
basically,
we don't know for sure.
we've translated it to be Cyrus the Great as well.
Okay. And what about Alexander the Great? Some people think that he's a biblical or Quranic figure, not a prophet, but a great leader, a just king, maybe.
Credit's given to where it's due. He was a fascinating warrior, and he conquered the Middle East. Yeah,
he did.
You can't say it's that someone who's taken over the whole. Cyrus the Great was in charge of the whole world, and in terms of making sure everything's
as we knew it back then. The expansion of the Sumerian, Babylonian, and Egyptian bloodlines into Europe and into the Indus Valley. So if this was the cradle of civilization, this region between the two rivers, the rivers, whether it's the Pion or it's the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Scoti ended up in Greater Scotia, which is Ireland and Scotland, Scotia Minor.
And I learned that from you.
You learn something every day. They came as descendants of the Phoenicians who passed through the Mediterranean, stopping at Carthage on the way. Tunisia, of course, great Phoenician heritage and origin there, up through past Galicia in northwestern Spain, and out into the Indus Valley, going the other way. So I presume that these people stopped off in Persia on the way there. But this is like the out of Africa debate. Did the civilization start here and end up
the thing is,
somewhere else?
In history, it says the town of Babylon was located around the Euphrates River. So, and that's modern day Iraq now. So we're talking about 2300 BC was the ancient Akkadian speaking of the southern Mesopotamia. So Babylon, I think it was around that sort of region, was, and that's 2,300 years before Christ. Which is,
wow. Our friend on the text is saying in Babylon there are two important assets, Harut and Marut. Their destiny is to be bound on earth until the day of resurrection. People from all around the world would come yearly and leave diamonds, gold, etc. as offerings at the well at the city of Babel until it was closed off from the public. I hope that piece of the puzzle is useful. Yes, it is. So there is actually a well where people would leave gold and whatnot until it was closed off to the public. I mean, that sounds like it was closed off fairly recently. I wonder who closed it off. Was it Saddam Hussein?
Probably.
And that sounds reminiscent of the well in Iran where people believe the Mahdi is hiding down the well. And they throw letters to him and whatnot. I know in Hinduism, people leave out sugar for the gods or whatever it is. There's lots of these practices where people believe they're interacting with some kind of deity. Give us a call, texter. Get on there or put your comments in the comments. I appreciate you texting us. It's great to have any kind of interaction. Once again, if anyone wants to get involved in the chat, you can click the link on the description and we'll get you on the screen. We're talking Sumeria, we're talking Babylon, we're talking Mesopotamia, we're talking Chaldea, we're talking Iraq, or the ancient land of Ur, where Ibrahim was said to be. I can't think of a place with more names. I mean, Persia and Iran, there's two. Land of Pars.
Babylon. We had Babylon.
Iraq rather has the most. Is there any place on earth that has more names for it than that region?
No, I think that's been named so many times over. But the history does go as far as Babylon, which is the Akkadian. Now, do you know the story about Beelzebub going back to it?
So Beelzebub went back to Babylon, did he?
Well, yeah. Beelzebub was it's in the second book of Kings, in the name of Palestinian god of Ikram.
Okay. Wow. But Mac, I happen to know you're a reggae fan, and you're going to give us a little rendition of a song now. A one, two, three, four. By the rivers of Babylon.
We wept and we cried.
Now, this is a great. I could play a quick clip of it if I couldn't get a copyright strike. But the black peoples of the Caribbean have a real affiliation with the tribes of Israel, and in the Rastafarian faith, you'll hear about Babylon referring to often the enemy, the police, Westerners, white people. It's actually referring to anything outside of Africa. And Mount Zion in the Bible refers to the Holy Land, but to the Rastafarians, Africa is Zion. This is their Holy Land that they are longing to return to. So it can be quite an analogy for people. But who knows what the real Babylon is? If it was this term that was used to just to mean outside of the Holy Land, in Ireland there is an expression beyond the pale. Well, it's a global expression now, but the Pale was originally the area around Dublin that was controlled by the English, and anywhere outside of that was beyond the Pale. So there was this sort of idea that Babylon was anywhere outside the Holy Land. So if you take it in that context, are we not all in Babylon? We're outside the Holy Land, and all this evil is going on, and the mysticism that we saw in the video clip that people got into, and the Knights Templar got into it. Are we all seeking either the refuge of the Holy Land? And I know that there's a belief that I think Medina will be safe in the Great War. Is that correct?
So,
is it Mecca or Medina?
No,
will be safe during the Malhama?
No, apparently, at the end
as I
times,
understand it, System of the Down
that's going to be
Admiral
one of the first things that they're going to destroy is going to be the Kaaba. Apparently, there is
Kaaba and Mecca. So maybe Medina will be this kind of refuge.
But apparently, there is. I've heard there is hadith to say that would have to happen as well. But talking about Ishtar and Nimrod. Now, I did mention he's the son. He's the son of Han, or son of Cush, and he married his mom Ishtar, or AKA Madonna.
Sorry, just say that again for the listeners.
So
it sounds like a episode of the Jeremy Kyle Show.
Or Jerry Springer's.
He married, for our American members, he married his mum.
Basically, yeah. So this is why.
Why would you want to do that?
That's why she's called the Whore of Babylon.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah.
This is referred to in Revelation.
Yeah.
By St. John.
Yeah. So, I mean, to give you an idea a bit more about Nimrod, I mean, it says he was a king. He was the son of Cush, and when Cush was passed, I don't know what happened to him, but Nimrod became more powerful and decided to marry his mum because his mum wanted to have the power. So once he passed away, his mum said that Nimrod is now Baal, Baal.
Okay.
Baal, yeah. So that's when they started to worship the Baal, which was Nimrod passing away. And at the same time, she had another child. This is where she claimed to be like the Virgin Mary.
What is the relationship between Baal and Baphomet?
Baphomet. Actually, is there a connection? I don't know. The connection.
Perhaps there's not. Maybe I mistakenly
it could be.
Thought there was.
Could be. I mean,
we could look into that.
It could be.
Yeah. Some people, I think, erroneously believe that Baphomet relates to Muhammad, but I think that's trying to read into things more than is actually there. And we do want to talk on another show about the book of Zohar, but this was around at the same time and in the same place, was it not? Around the time of the Babylonian Talmud.
Yeah, it was. Now, there was another king as well called Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah. Now, he was a villainous character, was he not?
Yeah, he was. I think, and that
what
was
did he do?
He was the one that I think Cyrus the Great was. Well, he locked him up, and I think he went crazy as well. He started to lose his mind, and he basically was locked up. He lost, and he was going crazy. He went mad, and the rest of his life he didn't have a good life, basically. So basically, when Cyrus the Great did go to Babylon, he had to lock him up, and that's what happened. So until Cyrus the Great, they were ruling. They were powerful civilizations, the Babylonians, from Nimrod and also Nebuchadnezzar. Now Nimrod, there was a lot of controversy in terms of sleeping with his own mum, which I don't know, which is like, I mean, that was a common practice within the.
That's what
the pharaohs.
That's what the ancient Egyptians did. That's what some of the Britain.
Yeah.
Some of the British royal family do, apparently. It's up to them. Yeah, our friend who's texting is saying that some of the comments are not going through, and that's why he or she or they were texting. So I apologize about that. You don't know what the algorithm does when you start talking about these topics. We do try and tread very carefully on this show. Liam Bobrick saying Nimrod's son. I want to get the etymology on Nimrod. And did you get you mentioned Daniel earlier on, Mac. Do you know the etymology on Daniel? What is it?
Basically, from Daniel's book, I knew that they knew that there was a name given to them called Cyrus, and
but what does the name Daniel mean? El is obviously God, as we know. Every name in the Bible: Samuel, Ishmael, Daniel, Noel. It's all something of God.
Daniel wrote a book himself of the Bible.
You don't know it, do you, Mac? Sorry, you don't know. You can say I don't know if you don't know. You don't know the etymology of Daniel, do you?
No, I don't know the etymology of Daniel.
All right, just tell me then if you don't know.
Well, I do know the story of Daniel, though. There was this.
Go on then. In the lion's den.
Basically, I think it was at the time of Nebuchadnezzar again. He built a statue, and everyone was forced to worship and submit to the statue. Daniel and a few of his lot didn't do it, and they were thrown into the fire. Daniel. They were thrown into the fire, but the fire didn't burn them. Have you heard the story, or you haven't?
Yeah, I've heard. No, I vaguely remember it.
So
Daniel means God is my strength.
Right. Okay.
Maybe that's why he didn't burn.
So basically, Daniel, was thrown into the fire because he did not listen to Nebuchadnezzar. He wasn't worshiping the statue, and then obviously Daniel and his people were told that he was even locked up with the lions, and the lions didn't do nothing to Daniel. So then Cyrus the Great came to his rescue. If I'm not mistaken, am I right?
Yeah. He was a great hero. Yeah, the first biblical mention. Oh, this is Nimrod in the Table of Nations. He is described as the son of Cush, grandson of Ham, and great grandson of Noah. Yeah,
I keep saying that. Yeah. So you kept mentioning how they talk about a flood. Yes, that would make sense, because at the time of Babel, imagine Harut and Marut, as your other friend said. These are the two angels that are sent down to teach the rituals of magic, and also they came down and they changed everyone's language so that they couldn't understand each other.
It says here Nimrod is used as an insult, meaning a dim-witted person. There's a lot of insults that come from the Bible. Being a Philistine is known to be an insult, meaning a very sort of backward, uncultured person. It's amazing how a lot of these villainous characters get in. I mean, Judas is obviously a traitor, isn't it? It's just part of the everyday language.
Yeah, they call you up when you do something. You're like, oh, you're a Judas. They use
Ashur. So Ashur was the second son of Shem, the son of Noah. Ashur's brother was Elam, Afraxud, Lud, and Aram. Yeah, I've got a good friend called Aram.
Yeah, it's an Iranian name, by the way, Aram. It means
why? Yeah, and he's a Kurdish journalist, in fact. Why is Aram and Kurds are Indo-European, Iranian, or of that origin? Why has Aram become? It's a Hebrew word. Why is it a Persian name now? I wonder, is it related?
It has a Persian meaning too, by the way. Aram means to be relaxed, tranquil. To
be relaxed. Okay, this is saying that in Hebrew or Aramaic, etymology of the word is height, high, or region, according to the dictionary, and it could mean the highlands. So is Aram a high? Is it a high area?
Aram.
Aram.
I'm not sure. As I said, the only use that we use Aram for is to be like to say, he just had an accident, but he's Aram. He's relaxed.
Okay. In Arabic, ihtira. No, that's respect. How do you say relax in Arabic? Riha would be relax, I think. Well, too many languages going around and round in my head. But look, Mac, where are we going from here? We've got Babylon. This is Weird Wednesdays, where we go a little bit esoteric. We go a little bit different. I'm delighted that we've mentioned Chaldea, and you've got some guests that you might bring on the show. We've got someone that could talk about ancient Egypt. You've got what else in the pipeline? What are your other ideas to talk about?
Well, understanding
As a good, sorry to interrupt, a good example from Liam Bobrick is Jezebel being a good term from the Bible as an insult, and some people have tried to sort of reclaim that word. But look, we're going to take a call. Let's see who's there. 1 second. Hello, caller. Hope you're hearing us. Hello, who's this?
This is Adam.
Hello, Adam. Well, brilliant. First caller, and it's the first man. What have you? And do you know what your name means, Adam?
Adam, I've been told it means the old of the earth.
Yeah, earth. So in Arabic, dam means blood, and I think this comes from the red earthy color of the blood. So that would sort of make sense. What have you made of what we said tonight about Iraq? We've sort of been around the houses, and I don't know if we've made any sense whatsoever. But
I just wanted to add
go on.
A little bit of information and about these assets that I've mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to be pretty important to not only the Muslims but also the Jews of their what do you call it? Like the history, their stories about these two angels. I can tell you basically they have a similar story.
Okay.
These two angels, well, the gathering of angels, what's up with the humans? Like, all they got to do is this. It's pretty simple, like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't understand the notion of desire and free will and this lower level blindedness we got.
Mm-hmm.
So they got given an opportunity to test themselves. They called these two, Harut and Marut. They said these two are basically the top guys. Obviously, they're not going to fail. They're going to pass the test. So they come down to earth, simple, peace of pie. Started feeling lost. started feeling other sort of desires and stuff. Basically, ended up sleeping with a woman, adulterated them. The husband came in, ended up killing him. Basically did everything under the sun.
Now look,
and,
Adam, Harut and Marut, forgive me, are they people or are they angels?
They are angels that have been given the opportunity to prove how easy it is to be a human.
Okay, because
and follow the law.
Commonly, we're told that angels don't have free will. These angels must have had free will.
That's the reason they were so, confused as to how is it so hard? Like these humans, all they got to do is do the right thing, and they know it's better for them. And like, what's wrong with them?
So it looks easy until you try. Mac's gonna
into the mix. They got a clay body that has magnetisms to certain other, excited. You know what I mean? Innit?
I think Mac wants to come back at you. I don't know if you're going to hear him. Mac's going to. What do you want to say, Mac? Adam, I hope you're going to hear.
Basically, Harut and Marut came down with a disclaimer, and they were there to teach how to do magic.
Yeah, so you're not hearing it. We're going to. Yeah, you'll have to go through me. Mac's just saying that they came down with a disclaimer, but we'll pick up on that point. And do you mind me asking, Adam?
That comes after.
Okay, that comes after.
I was going to go into that.
Okay, go on. Yeah, we can go into that.
Detail the whole story.
Okay, no problem. And is this you're giving us the Quranic version of what happened, or the biblical version?
I'm going to give you a verse of the Quran that talks about them.
Okay.
What I'm giving you is it's like Islamic history, and the same story is found in Jewish history. The exact same sequence of events. Maybe one or two details different.
Okay.
So you want me to carry on?
Yeah, no. Well, I thought you were going to give us the account, but I guess you're giving it to us.
Yeah, I will. So that's what happened. They came down. They basically messed up. Yeah. See, it's not so easy, is it? Now they got given a choice. Since they're angels, and they've decided to make this test for themselves that they didn't really have to. They were given a choice of two outcomes. One is to live as the humans do, live their life, be judged as the humans do, punished or rewarded as they do, etc. Live your life, you die, you do your thing. The second option was to be bound here on Earth until the day where humans are resurrected to be judged, and where they will return as angels. Now, this place was in Babylon, as far as what I've gathered. In that place I told you about, where the well is in the city of Babel.
Wow.
These are supposedly two real people that people actually visited to learn things from. Now, in the Quran, speaking about this matter, because a lot of people, they don't even read the Quranic verse accurately. Even Muslims think that it was Harut and Marut that taught people magic and this kind of stuff. When really in the Quran it says, Solomon didn't disbelieve, neither did the two angels in Babylon, Harut and Marut. It was actually the devils who
brilliant
learned things from what came down to them, and they would teach the people of these things. And what Harut and Marut taught people was like the understandings of the world. Basically, they were teaching people real knowledge, but deeper stuff. And also, like the man said with the disclaimer, they gave a disclaimer that what this will do for you, its benefits and its harms. So people knew what they were getting into. You know what I mean?
That's brilliant, Adam. And this answers a question we had before. I know Mac is saying now that he kind of answered it. But Andre McIntyre, who often is on this show, Muay Thai world champion, he was saying that how can we forgive, or how is it all right for Solomon to use this magic, but we're saying that it's evil. But you kind of explained it. They stole it from prophets and used it for all nefarious reasons.
When
I
you
suppose.
read the verse that's talking about it,
Back, you have to wait. Sorry.
Teaching a specific type of craft that would help separate a husband from wife. So I was saying this is what the people went to learn. Mm-hmm. So like I have a school, I'm teaching science, but you only came to learn what are the veins that will kill someone. Yeah. Because you just want to go kill someone.
Like the kid that wants to learn martial arts to beat someone up, not realizing it's about learning respect and all the rest of it that goes with that.
Adam, I think there's a good way to use everything and bad way to use everything.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what the pro-gun lobby will tell you, and I know that's a completely different debate, but it is the individual that pulls the trigger. Adam, great call, mate. I hope you will do it again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be listening in.
Wonderful. Catch us on Friday, 10 p.m. Friday, if you can make it.
Perfect.
Nice one. Thank you very much. I'm glad he phoned in. That was absolutely superb. Sorry, Mac. It would have been difficult for Adam to hear you and me to repeat it. But if there's any points you missed there, fill us in now. Yeah.
I agree completely with what he's saying, but the only addition that I'd make is when Solomon and Jesus perform these rituals or these magical things that have the disclaimer, they're doing it with the knowledge of God or a higher power there. So that's not committing sin. Whereas if a normal human does do it, who is not a prophet, he would he would start getting well into the artistry of the magic, and his belief of God would disappear. So then that's when you're committing a sin. But if you're actually performing a ritual with the understanding that there's still a higher power, then that's not a sin. And that's what Solomon did.
It's almost like the difference between worshipping God and wanting to be God. And some of these people that were practicing these arts were desiring the power and wanting to be like God, I suppose. Owen Keeling is saying Christmas is all about mushrooms, amanita, muscaria to be precise. I'm only 20 minutes behind now. I love it, these people that tune in and then try and catch up and watch in fast forward. You can always catch the replay, but there is something great about live streaming and interacting. We love taking calls and reading out the comments. And it's been a good one. 33X is saying he can't believe that people believe this in 2020. Sounds like a fairy tale. Well, majority of people in the world believe there is some truth in this. And as we said earlier, every culture believes in some kind of flood story. Got another call. Let's see who this is. Welcome, caller.
Hello again.
It's Adam's back on.
I just wanted to congratulate the guy. Yeah, that is an excellent point. I can't believe I missed it. Depending on your intention and depending on what you're doing with whatever action it is the most important thing. Yeah. So you can either, like as a Muslim, you're taught to say in the name of God before you do anything. The reality is Muslims don't really know this. They kind of just say it because they're told to. But the reality of the situation is your consciousness, your intention. This is supposed to take your intentions like in the name of God. So you're supposed to look at what you're doing and say, am I doing this?
And am I right, Adam? Am I right that
in the name of impressing someone?
Am I right to say that when you make that intention, or niyyah, I believe the word is in Arabic, you don't have to say it out loud. You have to mean it.
You don't have to say it out loud. No, you don't. The whole point is to
mean it in your heart.
Like, the words don't even matter. It's just the idea that you're doing this for this reason. You're doing this to serve the Most High. That's your intention, and you have to, that will help you analyze: is this really serving the Most High? Is it serving me? Is it serving, what am I really doing? What's the intention behind this really? And that's, I think, the most important, no matter what you do. Excellent point.
Oh, superb, mate. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We catch up. Lovely. Yeah, no, absolutely. And great to have the return of Adam. We get the return of Mac every week. We got the return of Adam tonight. And what he's just said to me has resonated. And someone said to me earlier on about not doing things to get famous. I'm not out for this for the fame. I'm not in it for the fame. I might say I'm not doing YouTube for the fame or to become famous. Fame doesn't come to the people that chase it. If you're chasing fame, it's not going to come. But if you're really good at something, if you're really exceptional at anything, if you're an exceptional chess player, if you're an exceptional marathon runner, an exceptional scientist, people are going to notice. And the fame, footballer, for example, and the fame will be a consequence. It shouldn't be the goal. And maybe using all this magic and using all these powers shouldn't be the intention. Doing good. Maybe if you want to do good, if you're desperate to do good and help people, then maybe God will help you, God, or the greater power of the universe will help you. But if all you want is the power, it's not going to work. That's what I think, anyway. Mac?
Well, you're right. I agree.
It's been a good one, huh?
Yeah, it's been a good one.
You coming back on Friday?
Yeah, sure. I mean, just to summarize, so Baal, Nimrod, and Nebuchadnezzar, and that was basically the history of Babylon, just to summarize the show.
Mac, you've summarized it beautifully. This has been
Ishtar
Lessons for Life. And don't forget Ishtar, Easter eggs. We're going to do it all again on Friday, same time, same place. We were here, and we're gone. Latest.